Si Mary Grace Piatos ay masasagot doon sa impeachment trial. Ang confidential funds, pinoprotektahan niya ang national security natin at yung buhay ng mga tao na merong impormasyon na makakasira ng seguridad ng bansa. Makikita ng NPA, makikita ng makabayan, kaya takot ang makabayan sa confidential funds eh.
We reconvene the Committee on Justice on our third day of official deliberations on the impeachment complaints against Vice President Sara Duterte. Sa mga kasama natin dito at sa mga nanonood, our pace is deliberate because our duty is delicate. Hindi tayo narito para magmadali. Hindi rin tayo narito para magkubli. We are here to uphold the Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines calmly, carefully, courageously. When we began on March 2, 4 complaints were referred to this committee. The first was set aside, pursuant to the 1-year bar rule. The second was withdrawn. Yesterday, we focused on the third impeachment complaint endorsed by Representative Laila De Lima. Yesterday, we discussed the substance of the third impeachment complaint. The allegations are not light matters. Misuse of confidential funds, bribery, grave threats, ill-gotten wealth, grossly disproportionate to lawful income, and acts allegedly undermining constitutional order. Representative Chel Jokno pointed us to disbursement documents bearing the Vice President's signature, raising questions of direct knowledge and accountability. Representative Joel Chua highlighted sworn affidavits referenced in the complaint, including testimony about procurement irregularities and the alleged handling of public funds. Meanwhile, Representative Rufus Rodriguez raised a constitutional question. Can a vice president be impeached for acts done while concurrently serving as Secretary of Education? The response from several members was clear. Public trust is indivisible. At that point, Representative Benny Abante gave us one of the most memorable moments of the hearing. He raised 2 hands and said, in essence, one hand may act separately from the other, but there is only one brain directing both hands. Dalawang kamay, isang utak, isang opisyal, isang pananagutan. You cannot divide accountability depending on which title is convenient. The Constitution speaks to the office, not the label. We also examined statements attributed to the Vice President that some characterized as conditional or not serious. Representative Bong Suntay even suggested that certain remarks were merely a joke or might fall under imagination. And that was when Representative Janice Degamo rose. She did not speak in anger. She spoke in memory. She reminded us that before the tragic killing of her husband, Governor Roel Degamo, there were threats, conditional at first, words, but words that became real. Her message was simple and powerful. Ang banta, lalo na mula sa mataas na opisyal, ay hindi biro. Threats from high office are never just imagination. They carry weight. They create fear. They can destabilize institutions. Yes, there were references to premonition on the first day and to imagination yesterday. At one point, an example involving a public figure seen in a mall was offered to illustrate the harmlessness of imagination. I will not dwell on that illustration. I will simply say this. This committee is not a forum of fantasy. Hindi ito sinihan. Hindi ito komedya. Ito ay pagdinig sa pananagutan. Let me say this clearly. Impeachment is not about premonition. It is not about imagination. It is about constitutional accountability. At this stage, we are not deciding guilt. Hindi pa ito hatol. The question before us is narrower but crucial. Are the allegations, if assumed true for purposes of this stage, sufficient in substance to warrant further proceedings? If the accusations are speculative, we must dismiss them. If they are trivial, we must reject them. But if they raise serious constitutional questions about public funds, abuse of authority, and violations of public trust, then we must not close the door prematurely. So today, we turn to the fourth impeachment complaint, endorsed by Representative Benny Abante and D.S. Paulo Ortega. Some allegations may overlap with the third impeachment complaint. Others may reinforce it. Our task remains the same. Determine whether it meets the constitutional threshold of sufficiency in substance. So we ask, is the fourth impeachment complaint consisting of 7 grounds or 7 articles sufficient in substance? Do the allegations rise to the level of impeachable offenses? Do these complaints meet the constitutional threshold to move forward? And importantly, are the allegations credible enough to justify moving forward with the process? Iyan ang tungkulin natin ngayon. And by the end of our deliberations today, it is my hope that this committee will consider all the arguments from day 1 until today, from March 2 until March 4, and be prepared to vote on the sufficiency in substance of both the third and the fourth impeachment complaints. This is not about personalities. This is not about political convenience. Hindi ito laban ng kampo. Ito ay usapin ng konstitusyon. History will not ask whether this was comfortable. History will ask whether we were faithful to our oath. kung sapat ang reklamo para umusad ang proseso, dapat natin itong ituloy. If the constitutional threshold is met, we should not be afraid to let the constitutional process move forward. Now, let us proceed, calm but firm, fair but fearless. Maraming salamat po. At this juncture, we direct our committee secretary to acknowledge the presence of the justice members, including the ex-officio members, including those who were deputized. COMSEC, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. We would like to acknowledge the members of the Committee on Justice, Honorable Attorney Jervil Jinky Beatrix R. Luistro, Honorable Jennifer A. Lagbas, Honorable Brian Poe, Honorable Jonathan Keith T. Flores, Honorable Isabel Maria J. Zamora, Honorable Franz Vincent F. Legaspi, Honorable Loreto S. Amante, Honorable Joel R. Chua, Honorable Ernesto M. Junicio Jr., Honorable Lordan G. Suwan, Honorable Munir M. Arbison, Honorable Bienvenido M. Abante Jr., Honorable Jude A. Asidre, Honorable Rufus B. Rodriguez, Honorable Ramon Rodrigo L. Gutierrez, Honorable John Attorney J.P. Padiernos, Honorable Rene Luis M. Ko, Honorable Janet L. Garin, Honorable Francisco Paulo P. Ortega, Honorable Christopher Sheen P. Gonzalez as Deputized Representative of Honorable Ronaldo V. Puno, Honorable Beverly Rose A. Di Macuja, Deputized Representative of Honorable Virginel G. Byron, M.D., Honorable Raymond Democrito C. Mendoza, Honorable Ryan S. Recto, Deputized Representative of Honorable Yevgeny Vincente B. Emano, Honorable Lawrence R. Defensor, Honorable Julian Jam L. Baronda, Honorable Marlene L. Primicias Agabas, Honorable Zia Alonto Adjong, Deputized Representative of Honorable Patrick Michael D. Vargas, Honorable Ana Victoria Veloso Tuazon, Honorable Jose Bong J. Teves Jr., Honorable Munir N. Arbison Jr., Honorable Honorable J.C. M. Abalos, Deputized Representative of Honorable Marcelino C. Libanan, Honorable Percival Percy Sendanya, Honorable Antonio L. Tino, and Honorable Walfredo Arman R. D. Maguila Jr., Deputized Representative of Honorable Maria Carmen S. Zamora. That's all, Your Honor.
Before we proceed to the determination of sufficiency in substance of the fourth impeachment complaint, that is Cabrera impeachment complaint endorsed by the Honorable Abante and Honorable Ortega, we recognize the Honorable Bel Zamora.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is for the information of everyone. We are discussing or deliberating on the sufficiency and substance of the fourth impeachment complaint. As such, I remind you of Rule 3, Section 5, Determination of Sufficiency and Substance. It states here that the requirement of substance is met if there is a recital of facts constituting the offense charged and determinative of the jurisdiction of the committee. What we are looking for, Madam Chair and our dear members and colleagues, we are looking for overt acts of the respondent that will show the nexus with the impeachable offenses as stated in the Constitution. Kailangan po natin makita o maipakita na ang impeachment complaint ay may overt acts o yung mga ginawa mismo ng respondent. At ito ay may connection o mangangahulugan na ginawa niya ang mga impeachable offenses sa Constitution. Yun lang po, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Before we proceed, we acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Arnan Panaligan from the 1st District of Oriental Mindoro. At this juncture, we open the determination of sufficiency in substance of the 4th impeachment complaint. To begin with, we recognize the endorsers of the 4th impeachment complaint, the Honorable Benny Abante and the Honorable Paulo Ortega, to make their manifestation with respect to their position on its sufficiency in substance.
Madam Chair, may I be allowed to please give my opening
You may
remarks?
proceed, Honorable Abante.
Madam Chair, distinguished colleagues, at mga kababayan po na nanonood ngayon sa ating live streaming, the Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines begins with a simple but powerful principle. Ito'y inuulit-ulit po natin to. Public office is a public trust. Na gusto ko nang dagdagan na hindi lang po ito public trust, kundi isang sacred trust. Sapagkat hindi natin maikakaila na ito po ibigay ng Panginoon sa atin. Hindi ito slogan. Hindi ito dekorasyon sa ating mga dokumento. Ito ang pundasyon ng ating demokrasya. In a democracy, leaders are accountable to the people. In a democracy, no official, no matter how powerful, is above the Constitution. And that is precisely why the Constitution gave Congress the power of impeachment. Because without accountability, democracy becomes something else. Without accountability, a republic begins to resemble a kingdom where those in power answer to no one. We are not a dictatorship, Madam Chair. We are a democracy where we believe that we must be governed by laws made by Congress. Impeachment exists so that the people, through their representatives, Madam Chair, may ask the most serious question that can be asked of a public official. Are you still worthy of the trust given to you by the Filipino people? That is the question before us today. Let me be very clear. This proceeding is not about personalities. It is not about political factions. And it is certainly not about the political ambitions of someone who will run 2 years from now. It is about her responsibilities to the nation because of the office she occupies today, Madam Chair. It is about whether the serious allegations contained in this complaint deserve the full and sober examination that the Constitution requires. The complaint endorsed before this committee presents several grounds for impeachment. Let me explain them in the simplest terms possible so that every Filipino listening can understand what is at stake. Dahil kailangan malaman ng ating mga kababayan na hindi biro ang mga akusasyon laban sa Vice Presidente. Unang-una, the issue of transparency and unexplained wealth. Our Constitution requires public officials to disclose their assets through their statements of asset, liabilities, and net worth, what we call as SALN. Now, why is this important? Because the Filipino people deserve to know that those who serve them are not secretly enriching themselves. If a public official earns a certain salary, but their wealth grows far beyond what the salary could reasonably explain, then the people have the right to ask questions. This complaint alleges that certain bank accounts, property transactions, and cash holdings were omitted or understated in the Vice President's SALN. It further raises the possibility that her accumulated wealth may be disproportionate to her legitimate income. Now, if these allegations are true, Madam Chair and my colleagues, that is not a mere clerical error. Hindi po ito biro. This is not a joke. That is what the Constitution calls culpable violation, a willful disregard of the duty of transparency. Pangalawa, the alleged misuse of public funds. The complaint cites findings from the Commission on Audit regarding the use of confidential funds under the Office of the Vice President and the Department of Education. Let us put the numbers in perspective, Madam Chair. More than 612 million pesos in confidential funds were placed under the authority of the Vice President across these offices. And one particular transaction has raised serious questions. 125 million pesos allegedly encashed and liquidated within just 11 days in December of 2022. 11 days, Madam Chair. In ordinary life, if someone withdrew that much money and claimed it was all spent in just a few days without clear receipts, without verifiable pays, people would naturally ask, saan po napunta ang pera? Oho. According to the complaint, some liquidation documents contain defective receipts, unverifiable pays, and irregular documentation. These are not small accounting errors, Madam Chair. Hindi po ito biro. Again, this is not a joke. When public funds are involved, every peso belongs to the Filipino people, and when hundreds of millions are spent without clear accountability, the public has the right to demand answers. Madam Chair, that is not free money. That is not a money coming from our own personal pockets. That is the money of the Filipino people. Di ba? The public money, akin nabanggit kahapon, is also a public trust. Kaya nga ang pangatlo, betrayal of public trust. This is one of the broadest grounds for impeachment in our Constitution. It refers to conduct that may not always fit nearly into criminal statutes, but nonetheless shows gross faithlessness to the public trust. And one allegation in this complaint is deeply troubling, Madam Chair and my dear colleagues. The Vice President publicly admitted that she had spoken to someone about killing the President, the First Lady, and the Speaker should something happen to her. Later, it was said that this merely was a joke. But let us be honest, threatening the life of the head of a state is not something that can be brushed aside as humor, particularly if this was even stated by the second holder of the authority of the land. Hindi po ito biro. This is not a joke. This is not what a wife can say to the husband, papatayin kita sa loob ng kwarto. Madam Chair, when the second highest official in the land speaks of assassination, even conditionally, as said by Congresswoman Digamo, it shakes the foundation of public trust because leadership carries weight. Words from high office carry consequences. Tanungin natin ng ating mga kababayan, if you had a neighbor who worked as an employee in a government office and your neighbor posted a video saying he was planning to kill you, hahayaan mo lang ba? Or would you not want to report that person to his superiors and have him held accountable for his actions? Once again, gusto kong sabihin, hindi po ito biro at hindi po ito dapat magiging katawa-tawa sa lahat. This is not a joke. Number 4, allegations of corruption and bribery. The complaint also presents evidence suggesting that public funds may have been distributed through intermediaries, including testimony from individuals who claim to have transported large sums of cash. These are also allegations of payments connected to procurement decisions. Now, whether these claims ultimately prove true is something that must be determined through evidence. But when sworn affidavits, audit findings, and documentary records raise serious questions about how public funds were handled, Congress cannot simply look away. Because the Constitution does not allow us to look away. Precisely why there is Congress in this country. It commands us to act. Now, some may ask, why impeachment? Why not leave this to the courts? The answer is simple, Madam Chair. Because impeachment is sui generis. It is unique. It stands alone. It is a unique constitutional process. Criminal courts determine guilt and punishment, but impeachment answers a different question. Is this official still fit to hold the trust of the Filipino people? That determination belongs to Congress. Ladies and gentlemen, belongs to Congress. Others will say that a previous impeachment complaint was dismissed. That is true. But that decision was based on a procedural technicality involving the one-year bar rule, not on the merits of the allegations. This complaint presents new evidence, including issues involving SALNs and unexplained wealth that have never been adjudicated. The Constitution demands that these allegations be examined. And finally, Madam Chair, my dear colleagues, some will say that this process is political. To that, I say, impeachment is indeed political in the sense that it is entrusted to elected representatives. But it is not partisan. It is political in the same way that democracy itself is political, Madam Chair, because it involves the people's right to hold their leaders accountable. Our duty here is simple. It is not to convict, it is not to condemn, but to determine whether these allegations deserve the full process that the Constitution provides. If we refuse even to examine them, we send a dangerous message that powerful officials can evade scrutiny simply by attacking the process. But if we proceed with fairness, sobriety, and respect for due process, we affirm something far more important than any political victory. We affirm that in the Philippines, the Constitution still reigns supreme and that no one, not even the Vice President, is above the law. Why? Because public office is both a public trust and a sacred trust. Uulitin ko po, Madam Chair, hindi po ito biro. This is not a joke. This is a solemn responsibility. And perhaps these words would also issue a warning to some of our colleagues that will make stupid analogies, Mr. Chair. I would not hesitate even to question that. Ito po, seryoso po ito. Gawin nating seryoso ang impeachment complaint na ito. Maraming salamat po, Madam Chair and my dear colleagues.
Thank you, Honorable Abante. May we know if the Honorable Ortega wishes to deliver a manifestation as well?
Yes, Madam Chair.
You may proceed.
I would join my co-endorser with a short manifestation. We endorse this complaint out of respect for our Constitution, and we carry this responsibility in the House of Representatives. This is not about declaring anyone guilty. It is our duty, and it is straightforward. For us to examine the facts and determine whether they are enough and there is enough basis to elevate it. If the evidence supports it, we elevate it. If it does not, we dismiss it. We owe the Filipino people a process that is fair, steady, and faithful to our mandate. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you. As pronounced during day one of our proceeding, we will be deliberating on a per ground basis, although we will be voting on the basis of the entirety of the complaint. We will now proceed to the deliberation per ground of the fourth impeachment complaint. Please allow the chair to read Article 1. Culpable violation of the Constitution, betrayal of public trust, and other high crimes, citing the following specific offenses: assassination plot, sedition, and subversion of constitutional order. We are now opening the floor for opinions, comments, and manifestations of the Justice members.
Madam Chair.
The Honorable Franz Legaspi.
Madam Chair, just a short manifestation before I make a motion with regard to yesterday's discussions. Madam Chair, just like to manifest, similar to my manifestation yesterday with the Honorable Laila de Lima's own complaint, that we confine, or rather I address this to the committee members, that we confine our discussions to the facts recited. I would also like to manifest, based on my observations yesterday, that we uphold the respect, the dignity, and decorum that this committee deserves, that our chamber is expected to have. The nation is watching us, and I still ideally believe that as public officials or even law practitioners, that people will look up to our characters as examples to look up to, and how we will act today, how we will treat others and speak about others will ultimately shape the values of our people, especially to my fellow youth in the years to come. With this, I wish to reiterate that we confine our manifestations to relevant statements, that we maintain our discussions to the facts recited, and have a fruitful, respectful, and dignified discussion ahead. With this, I move that the discussions yesterday's, as they are similar to the impeachment complaint today, be adopted as well for the Cabrera impeachment complaint, as the grounds in both complaints are very similar. Thank you, Madam Chair.
There is a motion to adopt the discussion yesterday on the sufficiency in substance of the third impeachment complaint. In our today's deliberation, in the sufficiency in substance of the fourth impeachment complaint with respect to similar grounds appearing in the two impeachment complaints. Do I hear a second? The same has been seconded. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is hereby approved. The discussions yesterday in the sufficiency in substance of the third impeachment complaint is adopted for the purpose of the determination of sufficiency in substance of the fourth impeachment complaint. May we know if there are Justice members who wish to comment or manifest on the first ground.
Madam Chair,
The Honorable Zamora.
let me just point out the specific paragraphs in the fourth impeachment complaint that refer to the impeachable offense charged. We find the acts under paragraphs 85 to 111, and these are all about the assassination plot. For the record, Madam Chair, thank you very much.
Before we proceed, we would like to acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Deputy Speaker Jefferson Conghun, the Honorable Deputy Minority Leader Jesus Manuel Bong Suntay, the Honorable Deputy Majority Leader Eliza Micaela Mica M. Gonzalez, the Honorable Deputy Minority Leader Stephen James Titan, the Honorable Congressman Jose Joboy S. Aquino II from the Lone District of the City of Butuan. We likewise acknowledge the Honorable Deputy Majority Leader Vincenzo Renato Luigi R. Villafuerte. We acknowledge as well the Honorable Deputy Minority Leader Reynolds Michael Titan. We acknowledge as well the Honorable Congressman Robert Nazal from BH Party List. We acknowledge also the Honorable Deputy Majority Leader Maria Alana Samantha T. Santos. We acknowledge as well the Honorable Congressman Vincenzo Renato Luigi Villafuerte, acknowledged already. We also acknowledge the Honorable Deputy Majority Leader Hill Cabarangay A. Acosta Jr. And finally, we acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Terry L. Ridon from the Bicol Saro Party List. We acknowledge also the Honorable Deputy Speaker Yaser Alonto Balindong. And finally, we acknowledge the presence of Senior Deputy Minority Leader, the Honorable Laila De Lima. We are now opening the floor for comments, further comments and manifestations of the Justice members with respect to the first ground of impeachment of the fourth impeachment complaint.
Madam Chair,
The Honorable Joboy Aquino.
I'd like to make a manifestation, Madam Chair, in regards to the first question. Does the first ground of impeachment of the fourth impeachment complaint contain a recital of facts constituting the offenses charged and demonstrative of the jurisdiction of the Committee on Justice? Madam Chair, I do believe the answer is yes, that the first ground contains a recital of facts constituting culpable violation of the Constitution, betrayal of public trust, and other crimes when VP Duterte admitted to contracting an assassin to kill the President, First Lady, and the former Speaker of the House of Representatives. Second, what are the recital facts of that constitute culpable violation of the Constitution, betrayal of public trust, and other high crimes? The complaint contains an allegation that VP Duterte, during a live press conference which was showed yesterday, Madam Chair, publicly declared that she had already asked a person to take revenge, and that if I get killed, patayin mo si BBM, si Liza Araneta, at si former Speaker Martin Romualdez. No joke and no joke. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Joboy Aquino. Any other member who wishes to manifest on the first ground? If there are no other
Madam Chair.
members, the Honorable Suntay.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Kagaya ho ng aking binanggit kahapon, dito naman sa pang-apat na impeachment complaint, ang pangunahing allegation ng complaint ay nagsasaad, respondent publicly declared during a live broadcast press conference that she has arranged for a person to kill President Marcos Jr., the First Lady, and the former Speaker Martin Romualdez, if she is killed. Ito ang ginawang basihan ng Article 1 para sabihing may culpable violation of the Constitution, betrayal of public trust, at other high crimes. Pero kapag sinuri ito sa ilalim ng Rule 3, Section 5 ng Rules of Procedures ng impeachment proceeding, may malinaw na problema sa sufficiency in substance. Ang requirement ng rule ay may recital of facts constituting the offense charge. Hindi sapat ang statement na controversial or politically shocking. Sa complaint na ito, ang allegation ay speech lamang. Walang alegasyon na may actual hitman na kinuha. Walang maipakitang may agreement nga o conspiracy na ipatupad dito. Wala rin naipakitang may payment o arrangement na ginawa in order to facilitate such statements. Wala rin maipakitang weapon procurement o alleged overt act. Sa ilalim ng constitutional law, malinaw ang doctrine na kahit incendiary, inflaming, or shocking ang speech, ito ay protected under the freedom of speech. Naipailalim to sa Brandenburg versus Ayo na sinabi ng korte that the speech can only be punished if it is directed to inciting or producing imminent lawless action and likely to incite or produce such action. Ang parehong principle ay kinilala sa Philippine jurisprudence tulad ng Salonga versus Cruz Paño kung saan sinabi ng Supreme Court na kahit radical o disturbing a statement ay hindi punishable kung walang imminent and lawful action. Sa madaling salita, kahit pa matapang, galit, exaggerated ang political rhetoric, hindi automatic na ito ay krimen. Ang complaint ay umaasa sa interpretasyon ng statement, hindi sa factual acts constituting treason, sedition, or conspiracy. There is a Latin maxim, conclusion non probat factum. Ang conclusion ay hindi proof ng fact. Thank you.
The Honorable SDML Noy Defensor.
That's wrong, Madam Chair. We are discussing on the sufficiency and substance and the irrelevant, illogical statements made in defense has no point because this is a direct threat to the life of the sovereign. And the allegation that the Vice President has contracted an assassin who is prepared to kill the President, whether or not there is a condition, as alleged in both complaints, I have seen the evidence, and I have seen all the supporting documents, and this allegation is trial ready. Madam Chair, I move that we proceed to the next allegation.
Madam Chair.
The Honorable, is that a motion, Honorable Defensor?
Yes, it's a motion to proceed to the next allegation.
I object, Madam Chair.
Second,
There is
Let us
a
give a
motion.
chance. Let us give a chance to everyone to speak on each ground. And my good friend, and whom I respect so much, should be minded to withdraw that because precisely there are others who wish to speak. And we cannot stifle any member of the Justice Committee. And our chairman has always allowed everybody to speak until everybody has spoken in this committee. So we appeal to my good friend to
withdraw that so that we can
Only
proceed.
because the Honorable Rufus Rodriguez has requested me to withdraw. I would gracefully withdraw my motion, Madam Chairman.
That is a statesman. You see, Mr. Chairman, our deputy majority is a statesman. So
Just
thank
for the
you.
record, the motion to proceed to the next ground has been formally withdrawn.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All the manifestations of the Justice members are duly noted. At this juncture, we recognize the Honorable Nazal and then Honorable Chua
Thank you. About me.
and then Honorable Rodriguez.
Third, that is fine.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Madam Chair. Consistent with the constitutional threshold articulated under Article 11 and the ultimate facts rule applied during the PBBM proceedings last February 4, 2026, I respectfully submit that Article 1 of the fourth complaint fails the test of sufficiency in substance. The allegations rely principally on public statements characterized as an admission of contracting an assassin. However, even assuming hypothetical admission of the pleaded facts, the complaint does not set forth the essential elements of an indictable offense. There is no identification of an alleged assassin, no pleaded meeting of minds, no overt act towards execution, no defined consideration, and no operational step taken beyond speech. Conspiracy requires implementation elements. Sedition requires overt acts. Culpable violation requires a specific, willful breach of a constitutional duty. None are pleaded with particularity. General invocations of a constitutional order and oath-taking cannot substitute for a clearly identified constitutional provision willfully violated. Under the standard consistently applied in the PBBM proceedings, rhetoric, however alarming, does not become an impeachable offense absent ultimate facts establishing execution. Accordingly, Article 1 rests on inference and conclusion rather than pleaded ultimate facts and is insufficient in substance. I so manifest. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next is the Honorable Chua.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, mukhang nalilito po yung mga kasama natin. Wala po tayo dito para determine yung criminal aspect ng complaint. Nandito po tayo para tignan natin kung pag binasa po natin itong facts, ito po ba papasok as impeachable offense? Now, let me clarify this. Ito pong Article 1 makikita po natin sa paragraph 83 pababa. At dito po, sa paragraph 85, dito po, clearly and expressly, binanggit po dito yung kataga na binanggit po ng ating Vice Presidente. At ano po to? Already as a person to take revenge and that if I get killed, patayin mo si BBM, si Lisa Araneta, at si Martin Romualdez. No joke, no joke. Now, paano po ito papasok bilang impeachable offense? Sabi po dito, sa same impeachment complaint, sabi po dito, makikita natin to sa paragraph 91 to 93. Ano po to? Meron daw pong culpable violation ng Constitution. Now, ano po yung specific provision sa ating Constitution ang binayolate? So makikita naman po natin to sa Article 7, Section 5. Dahil dito po, sa Article 7, Section 5, nakasaad po dito ng ating saligang batas, and I quote, Madam Chair, before they enter on the execution of their office, the President, the Vice President, or the acting President shall take the following oath or affirmation. Ang second paragraph, Ito po yung kanilang oath. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully and conscientiously fulfill my duties as President or Vice President or Acting President of the Philippines, preserve and defend its Constitution, execute its law, do justice to every man, and consecrate myself to the service of the nation. Defend its Constitution and execute its laws. Definitely, yung pagbabanta po is not a form of executing its laws. And therefore, there is a clear violation and culpable violation of the Constitution. Second, sinabi po dito at binanggit din po dito sa complaint, betrayal of public trust. At dito po defined under paragraph 94, the Supreme Court has defined betrayal of public trust as a catch-all ground encompassing acts that constitute gross faithlessness against public trust, tyrannical abuse of power, inexcusable negligence of duty, favoritism, and gross exercise of discretionary power to the prejudice of the public interest. Gross faithlessness, pagtataksil sa tiwala ng publiko. Definitely, yung pagbabanta po sa ating Papangulo, sa First Lady, at sa ating Speaker, ay maliwanag na pagtataksil. Dahil itong tao po, yung Pangulo po natin, ay pinagkatiwalaan at hinalal para mamuno po sa ating bansa. We have to look at the surface. Hindi ko po sinasabi na guilty na. Dahil yung guilty or not, yung trial po yan sa Senado. Ang nandito lamang po ay by mere narration of facts. Sa pagbabasa lamang po ba neto, meron po bang grounds na na-violate? I submit, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Chua. Before we proceed, we acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Congressman Jose Manuel Tadeo Chel Jokno from Akbayan Party List. We acknowledge as well our Deputy Speaker, Honorable Raymond Democrito C. Mendoza. And finally, we welcome and acknowledge our Senior Deputy Speaker, the Honorable Ferdinand L. Hernandez, of course, from the 2nd District of South Cotabato. Thank you for coming to all the Kongs. Now we proceed. We acknowledge the Honorable Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Article 1 is based on three grounds for impeachment. First is the culpable violation of the Constitution. Second, betrayal of public trust. And third, other high crimes. To support these three grounds for impeachment, as found in our Constitution, it has three acts that are alleged to support these three, and which are assassination plot, sedition, and subversion. Let us go first to subversion, not as a crime itself, but as a support to the three, either of the three. And so, subversion, Madam Chair, was precisely made illegal in 1937 under Republic Act 1700. However, subversion, like in this case, they state subversion of constitutional order, subversion, Republic Act 1700, was repealed precisely in 1992 during democratic times. In 1992, Republic Act 7636 removes subversion. It cannot be a crime nor a support now to the three grounds that we have. Completely repealed in 1992, the subversion aspect of an act of a Filipino. Then we have sedition, Madam Chair. Sedition is an act of publicly uprising and tumultuously engaging in acts to really remove the established government and officials. So it cannot be because Sara Duterte did not publicly rise with arms to be able to remove the present government. Probably what they want to say is inciting to sedition. Because sedition itself is governed by our Article 139 of the Revised Penal Code, the rising publicly and tumultuously. If you go to Article 142, this will be inciting to sedition, but there is also no recital of facts that the Vice President made speeches or made publications to say, let us remove the present administration. Nothing. In fact, yesterday, if you see the video, she was just present. When her father spoke. Second, when Kibolo had a mass at a gathering, but she did not speak there. So therefore, against the present government. So these two are out, definitely out. Subversion of constitutional order is no basis to say there is violation of the Constitution, nor sedition or even inciting to sedition. So we now go to assassination plot. Here we go. This is what is cited in the first paragraph on factual allegations is under the page 28, paragraph 85. Ito na. Already asked a person to take revenge and that if I get killed, patayin mo si BBM, Lisa Raneta, at si Martin Romualdez. No joke. Now, we have to distinguish, Madam Chair, between conditional threat and threat with a condition. This is defined by the Supreme Court. What is a conditional threat and what is threat with a condition? Example of a second one. Threat with a condition. I will kill you if you give me 1 million pesos. That is a threat with a condition. There's still liability. However, conditional threat, like I'll kill you if I am killed, that is a threat from the grave, so-called. Even, Madam Chair, even the late presidential legal advisor, the late Juan Ponce Enrile, I saw him in an interview. He said there is no crime because it is conditional. The entire, statement about killing somebody only arises if you are dead, and both of them are very much alive. However, this is now the situation, Mr. Madam Chair. The one who said it is the Vice President. The persons where the conditional threat is being mentioned is the President, the First Lady, and the Speaker. And so this committee will have to therefore decide whether that reaches the sufficiency of form and substance. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
The Honorable Zamora.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make another manifestation regarding Article 1. Article 1 of the fourth impeachment complaint. I was part of the prosecution team in the last impeachment, and I handled this. And we saw the evidence of the NBI. In fact, for the information of everyone, this went to the NBI. The NBI filed a case, and they have the evidence. Now, that threats were conditional, is inconsequential. We heard what the Honorable Janice Degamo said yesterday, and I believe that, we were all touched and maybe disturbed by what she said yesterday. She said that their family received threats, conditional at the start, but in the end, the threats became real and her husband was murdered. The video that we are talking about was viewed by everyone, including international media, international persons. This happened on the 23rd of November, 2024, early morning. And we all saw how the Vice President hurled expletives and publicly admitted that she had set into motion a clear plot to assassinate the President, the First Lady, and the former Speaker of the House. These acts, Madam Chair, are stated, as I said earlier, in paragraphs 85 to 111 of the impeachment complaint. It is clear that the overt acts that we are looking for are in the impeachment complaint. The video that we are all talking about was mentioned in the annexes, or was it? Yes, it was mentioned in the annexes of the complaint. And for everyone's information, this is what we call res ipsa loquitur, or the thing speaks for itself. Everyone heard what the Vice President said, and again, these are mentioned in the impeachment complaint. So we do not go into the elements of the different crimes of the revised penal code, but the mere act, Madam Chair, that she said these words and that she contracted an assassin is impeachable in itself. That's all, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other member who wishes to manifest?
Madam Chair, can I be allowed to speak?
This will be your winding up as well, the Honorable Abante.
Yes.
After this, we will be proceeding to the second ground.
Upon
The Honorable
he-
Abante is recognized.
Upon hearing the statement of Congressman Rufus, medyo umiikot po yung aking isipan tungkol dito sapagkat nakalagay naman sa impeachment complaint natin yung bang grossly inconsistent with the dignity of her office. Now, question is, proper dignity ba yung statement ni Vice President Sara when it comes to assassination threat? Hindi lamang assassination threat, Madam Chair, assassination plot, sapagkat meron na po siyang hinire na assassin. Sinabi niya sinabi niya, hindi joke yan. Pangalawa, yung po sinasabi nating gross exercise of discretionary powers. Yung pa'y kasama pa sa tinatawag na discretionary powers ng Vice President to threaten the President. Hindi na pinag-uusapan dito yung sedition. Saka yung subversion. Ang pinag-uusapan po dito, yung dignity ng office ng Vice President, yung discretion powers ng Vice President. Yung po ba ang tinatawag natin? Dapat ba na ito ay gawin nating baliwala, Madam Chair? While the VP may claim her remarks were not serious, a high-ranking official threatening the life of the head of the state is a high crime and a threat to national stability. Yun lamang po.